Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media captionTrump to pardon 19th-century women's rights activist Susan B. Anthony. President Donald Trump has said he will issue a posthumous pardon for women's voting rights pioneer Susan B. Anthony. Making the announcement on Tuesday, the centennial anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which granted U.S. women the right to vote, Mr. Trump said, "She was never pardoned. What took so long?" Anthony was arrested in 1872 after illegally casting her vote. She was later convicted of illegal voting in her home state of New York by an all-male jury. Anthony died 14 years before the 19th Amendment was ratified on the 18th of August 1920. With his wife Melania Trump beside him for a White House event, Mr. Trump also signed a proclamation commemorating the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. Last week, Mr. Trump announced his support for a monument in Washington, D.C. to honor the women, known as suffragettes, who petitioned for the right to vote. "Women dominate the United States. I think we can say that very strongly," he said, noting that there are now a record number of women serving in Congress. His announcement comes as Mr. Trump tries to win over suburban women voters, who polls show have been moving away from him since 2016. It also comes amid a controversy over mail-in voting, in which critics say Mr. Trump is trying to delegitimize the coming presidential election in November by starving the US Postal Service of funds. It did not take long for Mr. Trump's pardon to spark controversy. Hours after the announcement, Kathy Hochul, New York's lieutenant governor, tweeted, "As the highest-ranking woman elected official in New York and on behalf of Susan B. Anthony's legacy, we demand Trump rescind his pardon." She was proud of her arrest to draw attention to the cause for women's rights, and never paid her fine. Let her rest in peace. Who was Susan B. Anthony? Anthony was convicted in a highly publicized trial of illegally voting as a woman, and was fined $100 by the judge in her hometown of Rochester, New York. In a speech to the court, she chastised the government for barring women from voting, and vowed to never pay a penny of the fine. Her arrest brought attention to the voting equality movement, and helped launch her onto the national stage. She went on to merge the country's two largest suffragette groups and traveled the U.S. giving speeches and holding rallies. In recent years, women have honored her legacy by visiting her gravestone in Rochester on Election Day in November. Thousands turned up there in the 2016 race between Hillary Clinton, the first female presidential candidate for a major political party, and Mr. Trump. After the 2018 midterm race, dozens of people posted their "I voted" stickers on her tombstone, according to AP News. Her legacy has also become increasingly divisive, with some critics saying she marginalized African American champions of women's voting.